I bet it's hard for a lot of us to remember what it felt like to start the job of a pastor or to begin at a new church, to answer a new call. That's why I'm really excited about this week's episode, where we get to talk to a man who is beginning his journey. He's in his very first week. He's literally only had a couple of meetings, and he's got a lot on his mind, things he wants to accomplish, ways he hopes to be seen, and an impact he hopes to have on his congregation, on his students. So we get to hear from him today. And then we're going to hear from him again in exactly 1 year as he looks back and reflects upon the year in ministry. So again, for today, it's the first week and a lot of first impressions. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Abel, welcome to the podcast today. It's such a joy to have you on, and this is going to be a fun one. Today we're calling this from first week to first year, and the idea being, we're going to talk to you this morning today, and kind of hear about what you're doing, what you're hoping for, and then reconnect in exactly a year and talk through, what it's been like. Because so many people, have questions about being a pastor, being a director, being in these roles. What is it really like? What does it really mean? And I think even for people who've maybe been doing it for a really long time, they're going to be able to resonate with like, oh yeah, I remember those things. So yeah, tell me, introduce yourself and tell those listening like what it is you're doing exactly, and maybe you could even share the process of entering into this role as the weeks have led up to this moment.
Okay, yeah. So right now, I just got a new position, a new role here at Redemption Mesa as the Next Gen Director. And what that looks like is me helping and leading, or me being the main lead of youth and also young adults. And so yeah, that's the new position that I just started this week. I'm currently working for Gilbert Public Schools and Gilbert Christian Schools as a substitute teacher. So that's another job that I do. And then I'm also in my master's degree, doing my master's in leadership with Grand Canyon University. And then, of course, I'm married, and so still doing husband duties, and not even a year in yet, just 10 months. And even though it feels like a long time, but that's currently what we're doing right now. I'm living in Gilbert.
Wow. You just rattled off a whole lot of different things you're doing. Does it make you nervous at all thinking about all those different things, or like how you've been feeling?
I think that's just the reality of things right now. There's a lot of things that I'm doing, but I'm also thinking that it's only for a season. Like, God willing, I'll be done with school here in 6 months. So June 2026 is potentially my anticipated graduation date, and so that's going to be over at some point, and that's going to be different. And even hopefully a year from now, my wife and I have been praying and preparing as well for this, but hoping that we will have a kid as well. But that's going to be different as well. But yeah, there's a lot of things, but learning how to do have a healthy life balance for sure.
Yes. Well, that is the trick to, almost any job, but especially in ministry. That's the trick.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit of the journey that led you here? Like, for those listening again, it's like, what kind of conversations were you having? Is this something you've been pursuing? Was it kind of out of the blue? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, no, for sure. So my wife and I have obviously we've been attending Redemption Gilbert for a while now, and because we just started, or since we just got married in the beginning of January, she wanted to finish out her young adults ministry with 710 there at Redemption Gilbert, and my last season with Alpha, which was my ministry that I was doing at Redemption Gilbert, was in the fall. Kind of my leaders were very much caring and were telling me to focus on my marriage right now and not focus so much on leading Alpha again here anytime soon, just to take some time, basically. Not to say that they were taking that position away from me as far as being an Alpha coordinator, but I think the main focus was they're wanting for me to just focus on my marriage, which I was honestly like looking back, it's beautiful just to see that, hey, you know what? I'm focusing on building good habits and making sure that we're learning and growing in this new season of marriage because a lot of it is new for us. So we're learning about our health habits, which is our sleeping schedules, our eating schedules, working out, working in itself. There's a lot of things, and so yeah, this year I haven't done any ministry at all with the church. But my ministry is my marriage right now, which has been something really beautiful to get. And God has been teaching me a lot, but I feel like this has been a season for both my wife and I to we've been praying a ton as far as God opening up an opportunity of where He wants us to step into next. Not to say that we wanted to fulfill an empty void, because it wasn't an empty void. We just knew that we love serving people and we have a passion to serve people, but we weren't sure what does that look like? Are we doing ministry next separately, together? Where at? We just didn't know, and we were asking God for direction and guidance on the next thing for us. We weren't really looking forward to moving to a different church either. So we really love Redemption Gilbert, and we've been there for some time now. And we did an internship program there, and we are extremely thankful to our leaders who have poured into us. And we have been taught a ton of stuff, and now we want to put them into practice. But we didn't know if we were gonna still be serving at Redemption Gilbert or what that looked like, but yeah, so we've just been praying a ton for that. We really still weren't sure what that looked like, and um, so it's funny because my wife and I had gotten prayer, and it was at an Anglican church, and one of the things that stood out to us was, um, they had talked about change and that change was gonna happen, but we didn't know what does that look like? What does that mean? Change in our marriage, change in our family dynamics, change in ministry, like, change is just that's too broad, like, what does it look like? Um, and so, yeah, so we've just been praying a ton, and of course, after spending so much this year in just prayer, um Josue had called me, which is the lead pastor here at Redemption Mesa, and he had talked to me about how I was doing. Well, he asked first how I was doing, and then he asked me um, what it would look like for me to join their team here at Redemption Mesa. I'm like, okay, tell me a little bit more about the position. And he told me that there has been such a huge need for a young adults pastor, and so he asked me if I would like to take lead on that and also to help out with youth. And so I was like, I didn't want to I didn't give him an answer right then and there. I told him that I really wanted to pray and ask God first, like, let me talk with my wife, let me go ahead and pray about this first because I just need some clarity, and I need to also just ask God if this is really what He wants for us. And so that's what I did. And it's funny because in a few years ago, he had reached out to me, but I just didn't think I was ready for that, and I told him no. And I think one of the beautiful things about him reaching out this time too was, like, there wasn't a lot of pressure on me, and he was super transparent and honest with me and told me, "Hey, like, if this is not what you think is what God is calling you to right now, like, you can always say no as well. I've gotten a no before." And I'm like, "It's not that I'm trying to, not take the position, but I want to be in obedience to God first of all." And I think that we can so quickly answer for ourselves, but if it's not God's calling for me, I really don't want it. And so, as I've been sitting with that and thinking about what I should do, if I should take the position or not, I talked to my wife about it. We were both really excited for it because we love Redemption Mesa. We feel at home. We feel like we belong. The people are amazing. We have good relationships here too. They're not that far away from Redemption Gilbert. And so, yeah, I just continued to pray about it. I talked to several different people about it as well, and processing it with some of my mentors and just even my therapist. And I think God was just saying that, like, this will be good for me. And I think the challenge was mostly that I got super emotional even the week before at church at Redemption Gilbert because somehow I knew it was my last week. And I think the hard thing about it is that um, when I feel strong, my emotions just are there, and I think the reality of it was that I wasn't gonna be there anymore. It was like, this is the end of LDP even for me, which was a leadership development program that I was in, and there has been so much good that has come out of this, and part of me is like, I didn't I hate leaving because relationships are important to me, and the amount of people who have loved on us there at Redemption has been so beautiful. The community is so great that it's just like, man, I'm gonna have to start all over again somewhere else. But then again, looking back, it's like, it's not like we're really saying goodbye. It's more of like, we're still gonna be working with Redemption Gilbert, and they are our family. And even though we're not gonna be as close, they're still gonna be around, and we're all one big huge family. And so it was it was just God affirming me over and over again that, like, what He has for me here is something good, and that's what He wants. And so yeah, so now we started here on Sunday. They announced us here, and I didn't think of how big it was gonna be either, just me transitioning here, but it's been going very well. Obviously, it's still fresh and new, and I don't know it all yet, but um, I feel at peace about it. I feel like this is where God has brought us and where He wants us, and um, yeah, we're super thankful and we're super honored of God just opening up this opportunity. But it still feels unreal, kind of like what we talk about. My wife and I, we share constantly, like, can you believe that we're married? And we're still even processing all that, but just seeing God's hand upon our lives over and over again, I think that's what keeps amazing me. Like, God, why are you this good to us? Like, we don't deserve any of this, but he's been so, so good to us. So, yeah, we're extremely thankful.
Yeah, when you're saying that the announcement was bigger than you thought, or are you saying it felt bigger, like it was more emotional than you imagined, or what happened there?
I think, so my wife and I, we obviously were super excited to come on as a team, but I feel like just people everywhere just started to text us or even come up to us and were super excited for us and congratulating us, and we're like, yeah, like, we're we're just being obedient and we're just coming on. But like, I don't know, just maybe the being center of attention, that's not what we look for or we think of at all. But just people reaching out and texting us, just like, oh yeah, people do find out quickly once it's announced and once it's like even on social media. And I don't have social media, but like, just that's how people find out, and people are super thrilled and happy about us, that it's like, all right, like, I love the support and I love all the communities coming around us. But once again, it's just like, it's really not about us. It's about God and being obedient to the calling, and super excited for what God's gonna do in and through us. But we wouldn't, like, we didn't get here on our own or through our own abilities. Like, that was all God doing. Cause I look upon it right now and it's just like, especially Veterans Day yesterday, I'm all like, to have thought of, like, me at some point, I was in stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas, and just focusing on military training and living that type of life, to look back and say, "Hey, at some point, I'm gonna be a youth leader or a youth director, next gen director," like, that would have never dawned on me. And it's like, who would have known? I would have never known, and this is how good God is. Like, He's changed my life in so many ways, and I can't take any credit. That's all Him. And yeah,
You know,
I'm
when
just
you talk,
yeah.
yeah, when you talk about the outpouring, to me it strikes me that you have, and I think this is true for people just generally, but like you said, like you wouldn't be here without the community, but also the community was responding positively to your appointment.
Yeah.
And not only is that a great affirmation and an
Mhm,
amazing encouragement, etc., but it also, and remember this, it's all those people who care about you and who know who know you guys and know who you are. They're kind of saying yes and amen to the
mhm,
news because they see those gifts in you. And so to step into that, and what an amazing, like I said, what an amazing stamp of approval, I guess, on the news and on the new role is having all those same people be reaching out and saying, "Oh my gosh, you're going to be amazing. I'm so happy for you." Um, and I think that we want that, and I think it is a testimony to you guys living your lives honestly and genuinely, but also in community and letting other people know who you are. And as I'm just saying all this out loud, it just reminds me that it's just such an important piece of our journeys is being known and letting others know us and letting others walk with us and being transparent, um, because it allows for these types of things to happen, right?
Yeah.
Even Pastor Josue, who, if people are listening, Josue was on an episode a few episodes ago. So you are working with him in the church in a bilingual setting, which is amazing, um, amazing. But even for Josue to recognize the gift in you, to ask you, to invite you, to call it out, to keep pursuing, like what an amazing story. So did I hear you right? You said you're 3 or 4 days in. Can I ask? So this is your first week.
Yes.
So first week, you did a few things Sunday. You're at the office today. So what has it been like? And I'm not trying to load your lips, but maybe this is a little unfair because it's going to be like, well, yeah, I'm just doing what I'm asked to do at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how has it felt, and what has it been like?
Um, it's 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 felt great. I think I right now I like to observe a lot and trying to get the feel of where things are at. I'm also trying to just be mindful about who has been helping out in this position as well and who's done their part, but just trying to see the establishment of what do they have and what is needed. But I think right now I've been in prayer mode for sure a ton. Even driving here, even last night and the night before, like it's more of like there's so many things that I would like to do. I have dreams. I love watching the youth and the young adults show up, and they're showing up and they're wanting more of Christ, which is amazing because you see a group of people who are hungry for Jesus. And as much as I'd like to come in and like do more things with them and stuff like that, like I also got to remember that like I got to go at God's pace and not at my pace. And I can't just fully start uploading or filling up all my my calendar, right? I got to make sure um that I slow down and that I go at their pace. Because once again, I don't want to get caught up in the busyness of life. I still want to make sure that I prioritize my relationship with Christ and that I would also still be working on my own spiritual disciplines. And and so right now, I think I'm still observing and figuring out, okay, well, what are the things that are important right now as far as the dates and what we need to work on. And I'm just excited to get to know the faces here, the people here, getting to know the names, and just being intentional and relational with them. So I think that's the biggest thing
Yeah,
right now for me.
yeah, which is not a surprise. Like it would be
Yeah. Yeah.
that should be what you're doing. And I think if again people who are listening, probably even as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking back to the different times I've started in ministerial roles and how fun it is to kind of get the lay of the land and figure out all the things and just be in meetings. And I love what you said
Hmm.
about listening and just observing.
Yeah.
I also love what you said about, I think this is what you're saying, but kind of how you said, like, you're trying to be careful about, um, maybe entering the role and maybe not coming in too quickly and,
Hmm.
upsetting the people who've been doing it,
Right.
but trying to learn from them. That's really wise. And that, um, it's so important because, those people have been serving and loving and caring. And, if you were to come in and just go like, oh, we're changing all this,
Right.
that
Right.
could be tough.
Yeah. For sure.
That could be tough.
Yeah.
And what is your so again, there's probably not a ton to talk about necessarily in regards to this is what I'm doing my first week. It's probably pretty straightforward. but there's probably a lot we could talk about as far as your expectations for what this next year could potentially look like. And I
Mhm.
want to get into that because I think that my hope is, again, that as we're talking today, we'll talk again in 1 year and kind of reflect upon how it actually went.
Hmm.
Because I think a lot of us, when we get into ministry, we've got a lot of ideas about how it should go or what should
Mhm.
happen.
Right.
And, the reality is that th- things, God doesn't work on our timeline. And when you're working with other humans, you don't control all those people. You don't control
Right.
the kids and the parents and the youth and everybody else. So there's a lot of moving parts. But if you could pinpoint some expectations that you have, some hopes you have for the year, I'm sure you've thought about it. Could you share
Yeah.
those with us? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Yes. So, what I'm hoping to accomplish is, well, at least in young adults first, their group is called Lift, and Living in Faith Together is what that stands for. So that's what their young adults ministry is called. And I think that I really want to go ahead and display what that looks like, And for me, it's just being my genuine, authentic self. I really want to show this next generation of what it looks like to live a life in faith. I think that I want them to grow in their relationship with Christ. Um, Same with the youth, for sure. Um, but I think right now, even as I'm looking through these past few events that we've already had with them, I feel like I would like to see a revival happen here with the next, uh, well, with the youth and young adults, just because I I see that they're wanting, like I say, more of Christ. They just need some guidance and direction, and I still obviously need guidance and direction too myself, and that's what I'm asking the Holy Spirit to help us with. Um, but I think my biggest thing is once again teaching the next gen how to have their own faith in Christ, um, because they just need guidance, and so I love how they're showing up and and they're seeking Christ, but trying to give more of a direction. So what does that look like? Well, we meet up weekly with youth, and then also young adults meet up weekly with youth, and this is like a very hard time to come into as well because right now they're already planning for friendsgivings and they're planning for Christmas parties and winter camp is coming up as well, and so putting all of those dates in is great, but the reality is like they still also need to know who I am, and who my wife is. And so being a part of some of those events are going to be helpful for them so that they can get to know who we are and who are we like as well. Like, how are we or how do we act, my wife and I, even outside of the church walls, what does that look like at our home, to live our faith at home or like just being out and about. And so hoping to once again build those relationships by either asking some of these young adults out for coffee and getting to know their story, getting to know what they do, what they like, building building the relationship. I have to have rapport with them, and the only way to do that is by getting to know them on an individual scale because as a group it's kind of hard. And so we want to be intentional with each and every one of them. And I think the nice thing about coming from a big church and now moving into a smaller church, it's like I feel like it's a little bit easier to be more relational, right? Because there's not as many, but it's awesome because once again, I get to know a little bit more about them, and but I'm excited. Like I say, it's really neat to see that they have a a good. They all seem to have really good relationship with each other, so I feel like there's a lot of unity here, and they do a lot of community things here together and not just during the week, but also the weekends. They invite each other to birthday parties and all these other events and fun things like volleyball, and that's great. I love that because they're doing life together. And um, so yeah, so getting to know them is one thing that I'm excited for. But once again, like I really want to point them towards Christ, and I need to figure out, well, where is everybody at? And um, yeah, So
So
that's
would you imagine spending several weeks and months just um, spending time with people, taking them out to coffee, lunches, whatever, getting to know them?
yes, for sure. Getting to know them, like I say, coffee, even inviting them over for dinner, or whether it's for lunch or going to birthday parties. Um, just because once again, like I think that's a great way of showing leadership, like especially as a leader, you're showing them that you care, and just being there. Because once again, I want them to come find in us and also be able to share with us, but they won't share until they're comfortable with you. And I want to get to know them on a deeper scale, but in order for us to do that, like it seems like there's like it's like this is our icebreaker season, right? Of just getting to know them all right now. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is amazing. Again, it's such a fun time. So such a good time. Now so your father was a pastor, so you've grown up around ministry and kind of observing, being a part of. As you mentioned, you've done some other different things leadership wise. Alpha, the ministry
Yeah.
Alpha. If people aren't familiar, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So you definitely have um, good and bad experiences.
Mhm.
Again, I don't even anybody who's been in ministry for a year is going to have good and bad experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah, for
So
sure.
so you've had both of those. So now in this role, again, speaking of expectations, how are you managing, some of those potential pitfalls? How are you thinking through time, logistics, balancing all the things you're doing? Like how are you thinking through that? How are you, um, who are you leaning on? Where are you like, how are you working through it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, with all of this, there's a lot of concerns, and I shared that with Josue. Like I am willing to do this, but I want to let you know, like some of my concerns, and which was once again, like I don't want to overfill my calendar. I want to make sure that my priority over ministry is my marriage, and my household, and also, of course, like my relationship with Christ, and so I asked him specifically to hold me accountable, and my so that's one thing that I've done. I've also told my wife, and I've talked to my wife, and I keep asking her, like, she needs to be honest with me and transparent, and like help me to learn how to say no to certain things as well, because once again, I want her to be able to express as well, like if she ever does want to do something, because we have other relationships that we value as well, and we want to be able to point to that as well. But once again, we just don't wanna do too much, and, so, yes, I've had great conversations with her about this as well. Same with my mentors and even talking with my therapist, and, I want people to, like, hold me accountable. I want people to, be able to confront me on certain things as well, because I'm also here as a student to learn and to grow, and I want people to be able to help me with that. And I want to talk to some of the even the elders here, and even we're going to be starting an RC group as well, where we're going to be attending and we're getting poured into, and I hope that we can gain or have a good relationship with them as well, so that we can express some of our issues and things that we're going through as well. But I think that we have a solid community that's willing to help us out with all of this, and making sure that we speak to them, and that because she has her own mentors as well, my wife does, and I want her to be able to talk to somebody else as well. It's good to have all these other perspectives and other people that can that are not part of Redemption Mesa, but from somewhere a different source. Just because once again, it's always good to have another set of eyes. Like, hey, you know what? These are some of the things that I've observed about you and your marriage, and you can um, take it and leave whatever it is that you need. But regardless, at the end of the day, these are people that love you and want nothing but the best for you. So I take constructive criticism well, and I don't take it personal. I know that they'll let me know because they love me, and so yeah. So I think that I've expressed my concerns, and I'm honestly, like I stay pretty comfortable with where I'm at, because I think everybody is respectful about that. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
feeling good about it.
What does having, a longer relationship with Josue. How much do you think that played into you agreeing to this role?
um, I, I I mean, obviously, I think that had a big, huge role that played into it because yeah, I'd consider Josue as my mentor. He's been pouring into me for quite some time now, especially when I was in Gilbert. I'd be able to share a lot of things that I was going through over there, and he gave me his own perspective on things, and I truly appreciated it because sometimes he would be hard on me as well, um, and it has like that relationship has grown tremendously, and he officiated our wedding, and I respect him a ton, and I'm thankful for him, because we yeah he's played a huge part of my life, and I really do appreciate him and his family, and so um,
Yeah. What are your
yeah
yeah. Yeah, I know you're close. I just was
yeah.
curious because do you think that you just personally would be of the mindset or the type of person that could, how would I say it? But the type of person that when thinking about a ministerial job, do you think you'd be the type of, someone who could just send in an application and kind of get hired into a community that you didn't know? Or do you feel like you are more wound up to, again, relationally, like want to have some of those inroads and connections already in place?
That's a very good question. um, I think, yeah, I'm very relational, and so I think that's why the idea of even coming over here kind of made it easier because, like I say, I'm comfortable. It's not like this is a uh, an environment that I'm unfamiliar with, or same with Josue. He's not a stranger. Like I'm familiar already with this campus, with the people here, and the people know us. And it's just like, hey, you know what? Like that that's no brainer, right? Like, I'm not stressing out about that or if, like, we're gonna be able to fit in or none of that. But, yeah, if I were to compare it to, a whole different environment or a whole different job of, like I say, not having any connections, it is a little bit harder. You do go through more feelings of, like, "Alright, well, will I be able to do what they're asking me to do? How much is gonna be requested of me?" Or, like, the expectations. It's gonna be different, um, but Josue has mentioned this a ton, but it's very familial. And I think part of that is the culture and the community and the environment here, but that's not the same for every workplace, right? It's not the same. Um, so I would say that, yeah, I think I like this way of like what you mentioned earlier, like having the connection and being more familiar with the people of getting the job like this makes it easier for sure. But
Yeah, I think it's actually important for people to think that out when kind of thinking through ministerial jobs.
yeah.
Because actually, it goes the other way too. Because you're right, Josue and his team, they are trying to create a more relational, familial atmosphere. So
Hmm.
he wasn't probably looking to just hire someone off the internet either. I mean, he
Right.
wanted someone who knows his community and knows the culture, the climates. So it
Hmm.
goes both ways for sure.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thing to think through. So a quick question too. I know this is, would I be mistaken in saying that this has been a pretty quick process, or is that true? Like
Uh,
relatively quick, or would you say,
yeah, I would say like yeah, pretty quick, for sure. I mean, he gave me time obviously
yeah,
to think about it, and there was no pressure into saying like, "Hey, I need to respond right away." But I think I didn't reach back out to him until like after 2 weeks,
yeah.
just because I once again I wanted to make sure that this was the right fit for us. But honestly, it was. I think that was enough time for us to really think about it because once again we had already been praying for it for so long, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, we made the decision like overnight, of course not. But I think that a lot of the things that we had been praying for was God's way of answering our prayer. And um so yeah,
And
just
again, you
it
guys
just
have
lined up.
already known each other for quite some time. So even if this round only took 3 weeks or a month, let's
Hmm.
say, you guys
Hmm.
have a backstory of years. So it's a little different. I am curious though, and again, it might be too early to answer this question, so we might have to save this one for in a year.
Okay.
But would you have done anything different a month ago? Like looking back, is there anything that you would have added to your process or not even that you would have come to a different conclusion, but, or maybe I could say it this way too. Is there parts of what you did that you would recommend to someone else who's considering a new role? Like, again, highs and lows. Like, is there things you would have done differently, or maybe something you did that you thought, okay, that was really valuable?
Well, it's hard to say because once again, I mean, we can think about that in so many different ways with other jobs or other things in life. But I think all of this was God's timing for sure. I mean, if I can go back a month from now, like, I don't know what the answer would be, to be honest, but I think when he asked and how I processed things, like, was all part of God's planning for all of this. So I couldn't tell you whether or not I would have done things differently or not, because once again, this came out of nowhere and I wasn't expecting any of this. But
Yeah.
once again, I think God lined everything up and I'm here once again, all because that's how God planned it, not necessarily how I planned it. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what else to say to that,
Yeah. I
but
was just
it's a good
curious if you
question.
thought about that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, maybe with some more hindsight, you'll be able to say like, yeah, I was really glad we whatever. But you
Right.
guys are already living a very open and communal life.
Yeah.
And again, as we've already talked through, but you had such a resounding affirmation from your community that it's clear
Hmm.
that everybody, myself included, sees clearly that this is such a fantastic role for you.
Yeah.
So maybe getting a little more personal with you is, what would you hope, over this next year, what would be your hope that, the group that you're ministering to, that they would see in you? Like, what's your heart for them, and what do you hope that they really understand about you as, your role as director, but as you shepherd them, as you care for them, what would you hope they get from you?
I think the biggest thing for me is, like, once again, I keep asking God just to keep me in the humble position because I don't want them to see Abel. I want them to see Christ in me, and the things that I'm doing is just Christ at work. And so I think my hope for them is that, like, I really am just a normal guy, just like everybody else. I'm a human being. I have good things, but I also have flaws just like everybody else, you know? And I think my hope for this next gen is for them to truly just to be able to see Christ in all the things that they're doing, whether it's at work or whether it's at school or with their friendships, with their interactions, with my interactions with them. Like, I want them to be able to actually see Christ in their everyday lives. That's what I want, because otherwise, without Christ, we really are just walking dead, but he's given us life. And so we have to focus on the positive and seeing, like, well, where is God in my day? Like, Lord, show up for me, have an encounter with me today. And I want them to be able to see that, like, God really is so, so good. Life with Christ is just, without him, like, you really are empty, But I pray that these kids, and I call them kids even though they're young adults, um, but that they would just have an encounter with Christ, that their lives would be centered around Christ, and I just want them to truly have a relationship with them because once again, a lot of and I'm learning about the backgrounds of the youth and young adults, and a lot of them obviously they have their parents and families here, but I want them to be able to um, is their faith their own faith, or is it just their parents' faith and that's why they are here, Yes, they still are showing up and that's great, but I want them to be able to understand what it is to live a life with Christ, for themselves. And I'm hoping that that's what they get, that this year they'll um, be able to build their own faith for themselves because that's what they want, not because, like, their parents want that for them. But um, yeah, I don't know if that answers
That's
the
awesome.
question or
Yeah.
not, but that's my hope.
That kind of leads me to the next thought I have. But how have you thought about, but success generally? What would be a good measurement of success over this next year? And then I also
Hmm.
want to ask you a little bit. You mentioned revival, which I think is amazing, but what would that measurement look like to you? And how would you be able to look out and go, "Oh, I'm starting to see some revival here. Okay."
Yeah.
And is that your metric for success? So I'm kind
Mhm.
of poking at both these things. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's these are really good questions. Um, yes, success can. I think we can easily, and we have to be careful with this, is that like, oh, well, if the group has grown, that's how I'm going to measure my success, you know?
Yes.
But it's not about the amount of people that are showing up. I feel like, the youth is definitely a smaller group here, but I think to be able to measure that, once again, I don't know. I really don't want to focus too much on that, but I think I can measure it as far as like where they're at with Christ, their own faith. Um, the youth is small, so even the team here, we're talking about how like don't be discouraged if it's only one or two youth. Hey, I'm still gonna be excited for that one or two youth that do show up, And if they don't show up, that's okay, still praying and asking God for help. But I think once again is just like to be able to see their faith grow. And what I mean by that is like within their actions, how they're doing, their positivity, like just just to be able to have a conversation, whether it's a young adult who is stating like praising God for just their week, the way that they talk, the way that you interact with them, like you get excited to see what God is doing in their lives. Like I think that's what I really want to just lean in on is like, hey, you know what? We got to praise God and worship God for any little small victory, whether it's young adults getting new jobs or, pursuing something and achieving goals, or just even taking the courage to, once again, lift their hands up and worshiping God, like just praising and worshiping God for like all of these victories, because once again, like success, everybody has a different definition of success, but it's not about the numbers. It's once again, it's like how are the young adults' lives, like how are their faith growing, and what are they doing, and how are they talking, how are they acting, and um, so I think that's how I would want to measure success, but like I state, I just you got to be aware and be mindful of not measuring your success for how many people are showing up or the size of the
Sure.
group.
Yeah, because I think you'd probably agree, but there's so many metrics that you could
Mhm.
use.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong to say that attendance is one of them, but it is one
Mhm.
of many. It is not the only. So I
Right.
think you're right, and truly, and I would agree with you about this, but you have to spend time. You have to get to know them and you have to know, what you'll see fruit. And
Yeah.
so, spending that time with them is so huge. And then
Mhm.
what are your thoughts? I'm curious, just revival generally, like
Mhm.
you've been in church a long time, you've been in different groups. We throw that word around a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of like if you were to see a specific thing that would indicate revival, what do you think it would be?
It's funny because my wife and I have been talking about how, um, I think there is this thing within our society where living a Christian life is boring, and we went to a, youth worship night Sunday night, and Corey was talking about how many of us can go into this dry season of our lives. But when I think of revival, I'm thinking of like the Lord truly like pouring His Holy Spirit upon this place, and we're filled with the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Like that's what we're seeing amongst the people here. That's what I want to see. When I think of revival, I'm thinking of like people are actually like producing, once again, patience and kindness and love for one another, not because of
Yes.
us but it's the Holy Spirit working in us. And I think that's what I want to see. Like I say, I've observed them, and it's great worshiping them. Everybody has a different style of worshiping, but part of me feels like they're 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 asking and yearning, and I don't know if they know what it is that they're really asking for, what they're praying for, but I see that that's what they're wanting, and I'm like, Lord, even for me, like I'm still asking the Holy Spirit, like I can't produce these things on my own. Like, come Holy Spirit, and like give us revival. Like, I want us to ooze with love. I want us to be oozing with kindness for one another, gentleness. Like, that's what I mean. That I feel like that's what I'm picturing of what revival looks like, you know? So,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, you've kind of shifted the language to godly metrics,
Mm,
which
yeah.
is which is so true. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about the things that God says are the fruits of the spirit, you know.
Yeah.
And again, these other things they're great. I mean, you know, being in the word every day is great. Being at
Mhm.
church on Sunday is great. Being a faithful
Right.
attender, a tither, someone who
Yeah.
prays for others in service, those are all amazing things. But
Mhm.
yeah, so well, that'll be a fun question to talk through in a year. You know, where
Yeah.
did you see greater
Yeah.
love and greater peace and greater joy? So
Yeah.
so with that in mind, looking over the next year, do you have I'm thinking logistics, like certain practices that you are really trying to get in place right now to help have a healthy year in front of you? And what would those things be? What are you thinking about? What are you and your wife talking about?
Yeah, just having some more organization. There's things that obviously she has a passion for and she would like to do. Same thing with myself. Like, I love to run. I still want to make sure that I'm staying active, and these are all good things for us as well. Um, but I would, yeah, I don't want to stray away from some of those other things that are important or the things that we value as well. Um, so I just want to make sure that we stay organized and that we wouldn't. I mean, we all have goals and ambitions, but I don't know what realistically it would look like here at my time as well. Does this mean that this is only for a year? Like, we haven't talked about how long this thing is for, but regardless, I'm still faithful that I can't plan my life too far out in advance because I feel like I've done that in the past and then God redirects me somewhere else and I have to pivot. And so for me, it's like, if God faithfully, I'll finish school here in next summer, but I don't know what that looks like after that, and I can try to plan as much as I'd like, but I'm not stressed out or worried as well because I know that God will open up an opportunity, and obviously there are things that I have to take in action as well, um, but I'm hopeful. I have faith that God will show up because He has done that over and over again, and it's kind of feels too good to be true of how great God is. So I'm like, I really don't want to stress out or worry about all of these logistics, but I'm super thankful, and I have faith in God that He will help us in this new season.
Yep. Can you tell me a little bit about? I think you had shared with me that your initial agreement is like 10 to 15 hours a week.
Yeah, so I think right now, well, it's actually 12 hours a week is what is expected.
Okay. That
Yeah.
so I want to ask a little bit about that, and I want to do it, you know, in a recorded fashion because I actually think this is an area that all of us have to think through.
Yeah.
So, did you guys did you guys really sit down and like chart out 12 hours, or was it left more like, hey, you'll probably be, you know, more ambiguous, like, hey, you'll probably be here 6 hours on Sunday and then 2 hours for this meeting and 2 hours for this meeting? Like, how did you guys do that or think through that?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So once we didn't chart it out exactly as far as what that looks like on paper. I think that because a lot of events, specifically like, oh well, the Friendsgivings and the Christmas parties and all those things, like there's all these events happening, and it's kind of hard to really um, set in stone 12 hours specifically, but just having a general idea of like what are the expectations, right? Of like making sure that I do my part as well of what is being expected of me. But I mean, there's you just have to have I mean, for me, one of the things that's going to be helpful for me to make sure that I am keeping up to that expectation is making sure that I follow up with Josue and letting him know like what am I doing right now? What am I doing for the church right now this week? Just to hold myself accountable and also for him to know as a leader. Because once again, like we can easily fall off that track and just say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go somewhere and hide to make sure that I'm doing like quote unquote work. But the reality is like I'm more of like I would rather show up at the office because it keeps me busy and I know that I'm focusing now on certain stuff for these ministries, right? But if I stay at home, like I can easily get distracted with who knows what doing other things around the house. But I think we have to be very careful with making sure that that we're doing the right thing and having integrity. And when there's no set in stone on paper of what 12 hours like I just have to, I think he says it as well because he trusts me. But even then, I mean, I have to have accountability. Otherwise, like, I think we can easily go towards the wrong path with that. So,
Yeah, I agree with you, but I also think that with ministry, it's just so easy to. I really love what you said, and I'm going to love asking you about this in a year. But what you said about coming into the office and making sure
mhm,
you're clocking some of those hours, like
yeah,
in an office space or in a communal space where it's very evident that these are hours specifically for this ministry and this job.
right,
And then outside of that, you might also need to try to figure out how to block out some specific hours.
right,
Because you know as well as I do, I mean, it's like, well, what are you going to do if 5 kids ask you to lunch this week?
right,
That's 10 hours.
right,
so
right. No,
it can add up really quickly, but that's the
for
beauty
sure.
of it too, is
Hmm.
getting involved in people's lives and going to volleyball matches or going to birthday parties,
Yeah.
like you said, like those things are
Hmm.
so fun
Yeah,
and
for
such a
sure.
powerful way to connect. So,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm really pumped for your role and I'm really pumped to keep talking to you about it. And I'm
Mhm.
like overly pumped. I'm more excited than I should be to look back over the year with you.
Yeah.
Because actually I think it will just be like so valuable for people listening, because this can be an ambiguous journey, this pastoral gig.
Hmm.
Um, Working in a church, and a lot of the conversations I have are about working bivocationally. So, working part time, but then
Yeah.
also having other part time gigs.
Hmm.
So that'll be another thing. How have you balanced that? How has it gone? Where have the points of pressure been? And
Hmm.
where have you find success? Where have you been
Yeah.
frustrated? Like there's potential, so many potential highs and so many potential, bumps in the road, but such is
Yeah.
life. Isn't
Yeah.
that the truth?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
any parting encouragements or any parting thoughts just for the next year for you or kind of as you get into it?
um, well, I'm asking everybody. I'm asking everybody for prayers. Because once again, like I 100% believe in the power of prayer. And if you could just continue to pray for me, pray for my wife, pray that God would lead us well, but that we would also um, prioritize a relationship with Christ, that He would protect our marriage as well, um, but that He would give us stamina, that He would give us energy and perseverance. Because right now we're super hype and we're excited about everything, but stormy seasons come as well, and challenges are going to come. But we're asking God just to keep us well, like sustain us, Lord. Like it's only because of Him, and we need His strength, and we need His wisdom. And so I just ask for prayers. I'm asking, I'm asking as many people as I can just be praying for us, because like I state, none of this is possible without Him in the center of it all. Um, so yeah, I'm excited, like I state, for this year, but it's a good place to be at. So we'll see where I'm at
Awesome.
in a year from
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what that looks like. So
It's gonna be great.
mm,
It's gonna be great. And I hope that anybody, those listening will pray for you, for Abel,
yes,
for
please.
the Mesa community. And if you want to know more about that Mesa community, you can listen to the episode we have with Josue to learn more about, the bilingual culture and that I mean, that in and of itself is a whole journey, which is so beautiful.
Mhm.
Such a joy to hear and you guys talk about it. So man, best of luck to you, and we'll talk again in a year and see how things have gone.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me here.
Yep. We'll be praying for you, brother.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another pastor or ministry leader who you think might benefit from this conversation. And if you're looking for more tools and resources to help you preach and lead with confidence, be sure to check out sermoncentral.com/podcast. Sermon Central is the largest online resource hub for pastors and ministry leaders. From illustrations to outlines to media, you'll find everything you need to preach and lead effectively. So check out sermoncentral.com/podcast, where you'll even find a special podcast listener discount on our membership pricing. Check it out and stay tuned for our next episode.